Hello and welcome back. My name is Michael Mon, owner-operator of Studio M Mastering. Today, part 4. Almost got to 5, but no, we're at part 4 of the 5-part series, 5 Things I Wish I Knew When I Started to Learn Pro Tools. And we'll get to those right after this. All right, so today is part 4 of the 5-part series, the 5 Things I Wish I Knew When I Was Starting Pro Tools. If you're new to the channel, hit that like and subscribe button down below. That'd be greatly appreciated. If you want to leave me a comment, I'm active, I'll answer. If you have a video idea, definitely leave a comment down below, something you want to learn. But this is part 4 of the 5-part series, the 5 Things I Wish I Knew When I Started Pro Tools. So yeah, let's just get right into it. We're really getting into the great operation. We're really getting into the deeper operation of Pro Tools. So this should be really great. Here we go. Let's get into it. All right, welcome to the DAW. We are part 4 of the 5 Things I Wish I Knew When I Started Pro Tools here at the DAW. So, number 1, wanting to get into basically naming your buses. So, one of the things that helps me organize when I'm doing some mixing, and this is an advanced routing thing, but I can come here and I can name the buses in my I/O setup. So say I wanted to take bus 1 and 2, and I already have, a bunch of stuff. Let's do a drum dirty bus. And so now if I come here, if I decide, I want to have like a send, and let's get over to my drums. If you notice, I've set up colors on all my tracks and all of that stuff. And so I'm here at my drums. So if I really wanted to send something to that bus, I can now come and I can set up something that feeds drum dirty. So it's feeding a bus, but now I have to like return that. So then if I come here to my new track and Command Shift N or Control Shift N get you that, I can create a aux input, and I can create a stereo aux input. So if I create that, it's going to pop up because I highlighted that channel before it. It now pops up. Here's my new bus. So if I come here and I come bus and I hit drum dirty, so if I just hit the solo here, I need to solo safe this. So having either on the Windows or the Mac, I would hit the command click or control click. So now I'm here. I've got my bus sending to it. I'm going to mute these other mixes because I'm already feeding those. So anyway, so here we go. So right now we're not hearing anything, but it's playing. And as I bring it up, it's now starting to show up. It's just an overhead track. And then I can now add processing to that, creating a separate, like a parallel drum bus. And I can do that across, all my drum tracks. I could set up this same bus. So that's just kind of an advanced routing thing. You're able to set up multiple things, and then I'm feeding. So my outputs 1 and 2, which would be normally just the main out that I use for my monitors and things like that, I've renamed it because it's my full mix. So I'm taking the my aux input here, or my auxiliary track. I've chosen my input. I created a separate bus that was a drum mix, and you can see I am returning the drums to two different because typically when I mix, I run a clean bus. So basically, I have the individual processing on the tracks, and then then I also run a parallel drum bus, and it's using the same mix most of the time. And I'm running that, and then I put in some heavy compression, uh, really kind of added boosts of EQ, and then I blend those to taste. And we'll get to that type of stuff in like another video. Right now, I'm just wanting to show you like how you can really get this set up. Um, and that so by setting up this auxiliary, um, I'm able to create. I could take and go, okay, this output, I'm now going to the bus, and I really just want it to go to the dirty drum bus. And that one I could put distortion on and just really, typically when I mix, I also have like my kick snare tend to go through like some real you know, like I'll use like a Sans amp, or Plugin Alliance just came out with a new Big Al. There's a few other harmonic things where I just add harmonic distortion to kind of help things pop through. And so then I'm hitting that, and it's able to just help that kick and snare without having to be super loud, kind of pop through the mix. Being a drummer, that's one of my biggest challenges, is making sure that the drums aren't the featured item in the mix. And that's something that I've had to learn over the years. It's the same thing like if you're a guitar player, there's this thing where it's like, oh man, I got to have these guitars just crazy loud. And but yeah, so that's like the challenge. So then let's put this back to where it was. And then yeah, so if I unsolo that, I've got my normal mix. Let me come to my drum group here and highlight that so I can just solo out the drums. We'll mute so then we have some of the drum stuff going on. My two buses there. So real simple to set up, like routing and being able to do that. So that's just one of those advanced things, being able to understand. We have a send. So with Pro Tools, there are inserts up here, and you can have a total of 10. So if we were looking here, um, we can, if we had mic preamps that Pro Tools can control, we can have that. Instruments, we have a total of 10 possible inserts per channel, 10 sends per channel. So we have all of that available to us. Pro Tools, when I started, they didn't have like real-time processing. It was all, what they called region processing. And now they're in clips. They've changed it to clips instead of regions. So then we're able to do the real-time processing. But years ago it was 5 inserts, 5 sends, and you mixed that way for a really long time. So my default is just the 5 and 5. If I need to go more, then yeah, I'll go more. But generally speaking, I'm fairly light with my processing overall. I tend to work with pan and volume to help create the mix. So yeah, so that was number one, was basically being able to rename your bus. Another way you can rename the bus is by right clicking, and then we can rename, like my drums, I could call it, say drum mix. And if I hit OK there, you're going to notice, oh, they all changed to drum mix. So 2 ways of doing it. You can do it in the IO setup, or you can do it, directly on the channel itself. You just right click and you can rename it and name it whatever you want. And then number two really is that the deeper routing, being able to, okay, now I've named it, so I can kind of keep it organized, and then being able to go into a deeper route. So then another part of the number two, the deeper routing, is so I have my drums heading to this particular bus. So if I come here and I right click, I can come down here and I can convert this OGS into a routing folder. So everything that's routed to it, if I do that, so now it's a folder. So then like I can take everything that's routed to my okay. If I click correctly. So everything that's routed to my drums, my drum mix. Let's get rid of this. Okay. So actually that overhead, I was going clean through with the overhead. So then I click this. Okay, so then I can click and drag these into the folder. So now the drums are in that folder. So if we look over here, where you can see the tracks, if I collapse that folder, I'm able to have the drums. And if I move it here to the left, so I've got that, and then I can expand it. Boom. And now I have all of those, my kicks, my snares, my toms, and then my room mics. They are now all controlled by this particular folder. So I'm able to organize that way. So that's just kind of an advanced thing that you can do, to help you organize. It's fairly new, the folder tracks. I believe it was 2019 when the folder tracks came out. I don't use the folder tracks much, just because I'm a big fan of using the colors and then renaming the buses. But I can, and then I generally don't mix much music that's past like 60 tracks, and I don't find that to be too hard to maneuver around. But this, if you're dealing with some of the real, like the newer pop things and stuff like that, it can be really intense, like visually seeing all of that stuff. So it's nice to have that folder option to help organize your setups, have all your synths feeding a bus, and you put that in the folder. So there's that. So that was number two. Number three, so Pro Tools has really, really amazing automation. And so that's one of the things I wanted to get into was automation. And the auto is right here. Right now we're just in read mode. So everything can be just set to like static levels. So because my drums are grouped, anything I do to one drum goes to all the drums. But so if I have this kick here, whatever level I set that's its new static level, even if I hit play. So then I can, bring it up. So right now in read mode, it's just reading what the static automation is. If I come here, there are a couple different ways we can do this. We can go into touch mode. I got to make sure that in your automation enable here that everything is turned on, volume, whatever you want to be able to automate. Now that I'm in touch mode, anything that I do will automate. So if I come here, So you see that you see the touch go red. That means I'm making changes. So if I play back, it'll read it just like it's in read mode, but I'm able to continue to automate if I really want to. So if we go from the waveform to the volume, you know that you did something automation-wise when you're looking at it. You've automated because it's yellow. So there's something that's like, so if you're ever wondering like, oh, I can't pan something left or right, if you go to your different view, which is actually the next thing that I wanted to talk about was the different views that you can have here. But if you're ever looking for, and this would be number 4, you're ever looking for why you can't do something or why like you can't just, so like if I come here and I try, if I go out of touch mode, go back to read and say I wanted to turn the kick down to -24, it pops right back up and follows the automation. It's because I had automation written. So I would have to either overwrite the automation or then I can come here. There's a trim that you can do. And so then you can, oh, I want to take it down to -24 for that section, but keep my automation. So now I can trim. So I'm able to do things like that. Let's just undo. Undo a bunch of stuff here. Okay. Probably went back too far. So anyway, so we've undone a bunch of stuff. So yeah, I'm able to do that. But yeah, the automation, so there's the different modes. So we've got touch, we've got latch, write, and then touch latch. So basically latch mode, if I come in and I'm going to say, let's go back here to the volume so you can see it. So latch mode basically just changes everything behind it. Where touch or write, so now everything I wrote up until I stopped changed the whole thing. But through this thing, I can actually basically write to end, things like that. So let's undo the write here. So now I want to take that kick and I want to change it and I want it to write to the end. It just now wrote to the end of my session that change, and it's maintaining that static level all the way through. So if you don't want to have to sit there and hold the fader all the way through, you can do that. So we can also automate without having to even use the fader and without even having to go into the touch latch or write. We can highlight a section and through our tool, notice that I'm in the multi mode. I'm able to come in and automate the volume and bring it down. And then if I wanted to, make it kind of ramp up, I could basically cut that, but you highlight one end to the other, and then it creates a slight ride up so that it's not like a drastic down and drastic back up and stuff like that. So you're able to automate that way. You also have the ability to automate via the pencil tool. So I can come in here and I can draw in automation throughout. And now if I play back, so if I come back here to my tool and then I play back, my automation is going to follow whatever I just did. So there are a lot of different ways to be able to automate inside of Pro Tools. So automation, and then you're able to see your automation. So the number 4 thing, you're able to see the automation depending on your view. So we've got waveform. So we're going back and we're looking directly at the waveform. We have volume. We have volume trim. Then we can go to mute. So say we wanted to mute a section. I can come here, I can highlight that section. So now as I hit play, so that track completely drops out. So that's a really good useful thing to be able to see and do. Just undo that. And then we can see the pan. So if we wanted to like go crazy and let's you know, let's go to touch mode here and let's just we wanted to just go crazy. We wanted a guitar to pan left and right and all of that stuff, and then put us back in the center, and boom. Now we're able to do that. We can do that with a pencil. But that kick is going back and forth between the speakers, and and then a single undo does that last pass. And then with touch mode, we can go in and we're, say we're doing the pan. So say we're doing the pan and we're doing this. So when we stop, then it's fine. And then we can come in and we can alter anything we want and like redo it. We can add to it. We can continue on however we want to do it, because it'll remember, like I overwrote that last pass, but if I had waited till after it, I can continue on. So that's the nice part of like automating all of this stuff. And automation plays a really key role in what we're doing. When we're dealing with like just mixing in general, it's a way to help create excitement. It's a way to really get things to come in, come out, help dynamics, all kinds of stuff. And we'll get into that in future videos on this channel, some of the tutorials that I have planned. But for now, I just wanted to show you how you can automate in Pro Tools. We started with being able to rename buses and rename outputs and tracks and all of that stuff. Then we talked about being able to route to multiple places. So using the busing structure of Pro Tools. So, when we're in here in our IO setup and we're in the buses, you can see, we can add tons and tons of buses. I just set it up, I'm old console guy. So I'm able to set up and the consoles that I used to work, the analog consoles were either a 24 or 48 bus consoles. And so I'm just kind of used to living in that like mindset. But with Pro Tools and busing, you can have, I don't even know how many. I think it's 392, something like that. I mean, it's an insane amount of buses. And then part of your busing structure is also the I/O that you have. So with Pro Tools hardware, you can go up to 192 I/O. I believe that's right. Maybe 128. No, 192. 64 times 3. So you can go 192 I/O if you have the Pro Tools HDX hardware. You go to the Pro Tools native hardware, the native Thunderbolt, 64 is your max I/O. If you're not using Pro Tools hardware, then 32 is your max I/O count. So that would count in your total buses because they treat each output as a separate bus. So we have, the inputs. I got my inputs, I got my outputs, and then I got my buses. You can set up your I/O to be like an insert, send, and return. But yeah, so this is just a way. So I'm able to say, okay, my 1 and 2 output, the name of the song is Awake. So I'm able to do all of that stuff and get that done and rename it and kind of keep things organized. I got a drum mix, a bass mix, guitar mix, synth, Vox. So vocals, old school because Pro Tools used to only allow for 4 characters um, on the tracks. So I kind of would came up with uh, a writing shorthand. And then, then there's the drum dirty. And then if we had like reverb, say we had a vocal reverb, we had a vocal delay, drum room, drum plate, whatever we're doing, we can name it here in the IO setup. So there's your renaming, but then there's your also advanced routing because now you're using the buses, and then you just need to make sure that you set up your AUX input or your AUX track. The input would be what you're sending to it. The output is where you're feeding it. So that's just like a really useful setup because the way that I've got this set up, we've got the drum mix, and then this is an aux track, and you can tell if you look at the track, this is an audio track, this is an aux or a bus. If you wanted to be technical, like you're working a console, this would technically be a bus master. Audio track, bus master, audio tracks, a couple of bus masters. I tend to try to keep my bus masters green so I can see vocal tracks here, but these are all audio tracks. So you can, Pro Tools gives you a lot of visual cues as to what you're working with. And so it's super helpful when you're working, being able to know, okay, this is an audio track. This is an auxiliary. And then, at the very end here, this is a master fader. So this basically is everything feeding, and then this is the master for my output. So I could set up master faders for each of my outputs, but this is, so just the visual cue, audio track, AUX, or bus master, whatever you want to call it. And then this is the actual master fader that just the final output for everything. So we've covered renaming buses, advanced routing, automation, and then we've also covered the edit window views. But there's something else Pro Tools does, and you can do this in other DAWs also. But this is one of the greatest features that Pro Tools added for me anyway. I actually use automation less and less because of this feature. And it's a thing called clip gain. So I'm able to come here and you see this little fader here on the clip. Let's make this bigger. Zoom in a little bit. So you see this little fader here. And if you remember, we have the views here. So on the clip, I could show the clip gain line. So that's basically like the volume line, right? So this is an automated line, but I'm back on the waveform. So I shouldn't be seeing anything, but now I have that clip gain line. Well, I can come in and I can basically turn the clip down, and I turned it down 7.3 dB there. So if I option click here, it takes it back to 0. I can't do it on the line. I can do this without the line. So I'm on the clip, got my clip gain, and I can just come here and I can raise it or lower it, So clip gain is just something that, like, especially doing a lot of post-production and a lot of mastering, being able to just quickly go in and turn things up and down fairly quickly. Well, one of the things I want to show you, so on the Mac, you're going to want to make sure that you've gone and turned off the arrow keys and for this, but we can come in and we can change our clip gain nudge value, and that's under the editing under our preferences. So if we go to setup, we go down to preferences, and then we pop up and we've got display, we've got operation, then we've got editing, we can change the value. I have it set at 2 dB. You can set it at 1 dB, you can set it at a half dB, however you want, but I'm able to do a lot of my clip gain hands-free. So if I highlight this section that I want to take down, this clip, and I have to make sure that the clip is separated. So if I come here and I just want to nudge, say, that down, it's not going to nudge the individual, it's going to take the whole thing down. So I have to go in and I have to come here and go to edit and then separate clip at section, or Command E, or if we're using the single key commands, that would be a B. But now it's a separate clip. And so then if I use Control Shift on the Mac, and I think on the Windows machine, it's Command Shift, and then I'm pressing the down arrow, I'm able to take it down by 2 dB increments. So just, let's better visual over here. So I take it 2, 4, 6, 8, that has just seriously enhanced my workflow over the years. Being able, like, ever since clip gain came out, and then learning that particular tool, being able to just do the clip gain. But clip gain is such a lifesaver and a game changer for me. Now, the caveat of clip gain, so when you're mixing and you turn down the clip volume, it will affect, say you have an insert on your channel, the volume of the channel is typically post-processing. This is pre-processing. So this would affect, say you had like an 1176 or some sort of compressor setup and you're getting just the right amount of grit. Well, you don't want to go and be like, oh, I just need to turn this down 2 dB. So I just want to turn that down. Well, that's going to change how much compression you're getting or what it's feeding into the EQ. So those are the things, that's the caveat behind clip gain, is you're changing what's feeding into the processing. So that's where automation comes into play, and especially something like, volume trim, being able to, I've got a whole bunch of stuff automated, but I just want to take the entire thing down. I could do clip gain that way, but it's going to change the processing that I've got set up, or I can come to volume trim. So Pro Tools has thought of, all kinds of, ways to make sure that you maintain your sound, but still have control and flexibility. But yeah, so 5 things. Bus naming, and you can do it 2 ways. You can right click or go into your IO setup. Advanced routing, being able to set up an aux return or a bus master track, but it's called an aux input track. And then you choose whatever you're feeding. So I've set this to a bus and it's going to the drum mix. And then I set up an aux here, and let's come. And so I've got my aux, I've got my drum mix and the input. So the top is your input. Bottom is where that aux is sending at that point. And then here's the control. And then if you want a solo safe, you command click that solo, so that if I'm soloed on the drums, because it's my bus, I'm able to play it through. Then you've got your automation set up. And one of the big things, make sure you Command 4 here, or Alt Control 4. Make sure that whatever you're wanting to automate is red here, because initially, if you don't have that and you want to automate the volume, it's not going to do it. It won't change your volume, right? So having all of that set up, you can automate all those different things. And then you have some advanced automation where you can set up and write to the beginning, right to the end, especially with like latch mode, you can have it just sit there. But if you're in touch mode, like we go back to touch mode here and I automate, it pops back when I let go, it pops back to its original value, where latch basically just overwrites the whole rest of the thing until you hit stop. So those are the different things that you need to know about with automation. Automation can be complex, but it can also be extremely simple. Then you can automate any aspect of a plugin. We're not going to get into that right now. But yeah, so you've got all of that going on. And then you've got your different views on your edit window. So being able to see volume trim, volume, so you can see the automation that I just did. So you can see how when I let go, it popped it back to the original static value. And then you've got clip gain, and understanding that clip gain affects what the processing is doing. And then the volume is basically a post processing, so it's like a post insert. Other than that, that's, those are the 5 things. So thank you for being here, watching part 4 of the 5-part series, The 5 Things I Wish I Knew When I Started Pro Tools. If you're new to the channel, definitely hit me up with that like and subscribe button. That would be really great. Even hit that bell. It'll let you know when new videos are loaded. I upload videos every week. My name is Michael Mon, owner-operator of Studio M Mastering. Thank you for being here. Yeah, like, subscribe, comment. Thank you.